Okay, welcome to this tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to create rows into the database dynamically from the web page, which means how to create the actual database records uh, into the tables dynamically. For that, we will go to we first of all I've finished this page, which was my web forms page, and there is some validation over here. There is some labels and text boxes. There's some other controls like this drop down control to select my country, and I've added some items over here, and I've given all of these text, the country names, and the value is numbers, so that when we save in the database or read from the database, we save and read numbers only. Again, the gender is also 0 and 1, which is a bit into the database, and once the user fills in this simple form, I would want to save this into the database. So that's what I would like to do as of now. uh, and also I'd like to display in a new page which is meant for a manager or for an administrator to see all the users available. So I'll create a new item, and you can go to new item and select the form, or you can go to add and the form directly over here and give it a page name. Okay, now this admin.aspx is now ready. Go to the design, and over here you can write, for example, customer details, and you can select it and give it some style, for example. So you can select which font family you'd like to uh, see this in, and it should be in what size, and it should be in what color. Let's say this color, something like this, and actual font color can be selected from here. And you're free to select your own background colors yourself. So let's select this, and that's all. So I've got a customer details page, and this is my heading. What I would do is I would now go to my toolbox by Control Alt X, and I need to have a grid view over here. So drag and drop the grid view and attach it to a data source. So SQL data source also I'll drag and drop somewhere on the page. And first of all, I need to connect my data source, which is a link between this page, which is supposed to show all the customers data from the database, excuse me, and I'll create a new connection. By the way, before this connection, if you have forgotten how to create a new database, just right click your database in your visuals in your Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and let me do this very quickly. Database name, I'll give it, like, for example, Suffer customers, and I'll add this. Okay, once this is done, let me get rid of this. This is the previous database I had opened. So you should see the Sucker customers, which I have just created. It's a new database to record the Sucker customers. So right click on the tables, expand first of all the database, right click table and create new table. Add a column over here, username. These columns are exactly should be matching as whatever I've declared over here. Username, email, password, country, and gender. The reason I'm not storing confirm password is I need to store only one. These two separate fields are just to make sure the validation works, which is the user does not by mistake writes wrong password and he himself or herself remembers another password. So the typos or spelling mistakes, typing mistakes can happen. So this is to avoid that. I need to store password only once: username, email, password, country, and gender. So let's create these five fields first, and then I'll come to the data types of these fields: email, excuse me, password, country, gender. So the type of this should be typically in varchar. In the industry, it ranges from minimum 15 to 20. So make sure you select n varchar, and the maximum should be, let's say, 15. The email should be in varchar also, and The maximum value over here can be 15 characters. Password is also pretty much the same. The maximum value can be in characters. Now country should be what? The country, let's go back to our Visual Studio. See, my country over here is being saved. This is what it shows: UAE, KSA, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain as a country. These are the text values. The actual values are numbers: 1, 2, 3. So we do that to reduce the space we have to store in a database, to reduce our data, and also to transport less data across internet. So let's go to the database back. Country should be a integer, and gender should be a bit, which is always 0 or 1. It can be male or female. Okay, so make sure you save this and give it table name users, capital USERS. And now let me right click the tables and click refresh, so you can see the users over here, and right click and select top 100 rows. You can see all the columns are there, but there's no data right now. When you right click and do edit top 200 rows, you can actually now add a data interactively without writing the insert query. So let me just write a dummy data over here, which is first user email is first at http.ac.ae, password is first123, country is not UAE or Oman or Qatar, it is now number, gender is also a number, 1 and 1. So you press tab, it will automatically save, or click the save. Right, so just make sure it is now saved. So I've got users, right click and select top 100 rows. You will see that first record already in there. So what I need to do is, I need to make sure from this admin page all the records in the database are stored. So I've created the data source to connect to that. Okay, I have not yet created a data source. I've dragged and dropped the grid view and the SQL data source on the table, on the page admin.aspx. Configure data source is what I need to click on. Go to new connection and make sure you connect to this correct server, correct SQL server. If you are not very sure, then you go to your SQL Server Management Studio, click on the top root, right click, go properties, and copy and paste this value over here, and then you should be able to see all the database inside this SQL server. So I've got many databases over here. The one I need to connect to is now this one, SQL customers, which is the one which I just created. Click test connection, connection successful, OK, and move forward by clicking next. Now this is the connection string. Your code, your Visual C# code connects to the database, not interactively like this, like I am connecting, but it connects through this string which you create. So you can change this now if you would like to. I don't want to change, I just keep it like this, and make sure you click on save this connection. Okay, so click next. It will show you all the tables inside that database. Currently there's only one table. This asterisk, make sure it picks up all from your database, all columns. So if you want to select only 2 columns, you can do that. Right now for this exercise, I click asterisk, so it runs this query. Select asterisk from the users table. Next, test query, it will connect to your database, connect to your table, pick up all the values over there, because I've ran this statement over here interactively and finished. So I now know that this is what this SQL data source can do. It can pick up all the values from your database. Now go to your grid view, also click on this column, on this arrow, and choose the data source, SQL data source 1, and it should actually now connect your database and pick up everything. So this is my SQL data source 1, which I've used, which is using the connection string which I just showed to you to connect to the database. Now if you save this and run this, it should show you one database entry. So let's play. Okay, so I ran this and I saw this data is now returned. So I've done my first operation, which is my read. So read is working from the database. Now the next thing I want to do is to interactively create more users from the website. So I go back to my samples registration page, This is what I need to do when the user enters this information, clicks on submit, insert the records in the database. So to do this, I go to my button click event. The easy way is to double click the submit, and you should come over here, and over here I'll attempt to connect to the database and do the insertion. So put everything in the try block. What this will do is, if there is an error, it will report to me that there is an error and what exactly the error is. The try catch block exception ex, and inside this I can actually now write my response dot write that there has been an error. Error occurred while creating new user. And what was the error exactly? Ex dot toString, exception dot toString. Save this. Okay, so the next thing I would like to do is 5 things actually. First of all, create SQL connection to the database. Secondly, create SQL query. Thirdly, create SQL command to execute that query. Fourth, uh, populate parameters in the command query, and then execute query. Also, so when you create a connection, you also have to open it. Create a connection and then open it. So broadly, there are 5 things you need to do: open connection, and then in the end, once the connection is finished, executed, you close connection. So these are the 5 main things I need to do to create the connection. SQL CONN ECTR. Make sure you've got this. If you don't have the SQL connection, then you make sure you have written these 2 lines using system.data.client semicolon, and then using system.configuration semicolon. SQL connection, give it a name. My connection is equal to new SQL connection bracket open close. Over here we need to give in the parameters. So what exactly is the connection parameter I need to give? So remember this administration page we created. Click on the data source and look at the expressions over here. Expressions, go slightly up. Under data there is expressions. Click on this button, go to command strings. This is what we need to copy. Where is it? Connection string. Yes, this is what we need to copy, this value. Copy this and give it to your code over here. Through connection manager, configuration manager dot connection strings square bracket open close double quotes. Inside this double quote, paste that string, and after the square bracket ends, dot connection string. This is how you connect with your database, which is your first thing. And then open your connection. My connection dot open bracket open close, and similarly you close also this connection in the end, and we'll write the code in between. My connection dot close bracket open close. Now I need to create my SQL query, which is a string. Query is equal to, and double quotes. Inside this you write your insert query. Insert into username, email, password, country, gender. Just write these over here. Username, your database columns, username, email, password, country, gender. Okay, and the values should be, now this is important to understand, at username, at email. So these can be anything. This is any other name, but I'm writing it to make sure these are same as this one. It is not important to be the same, but I will remember it in a better way like this. Username, email. So these are my parameters I will give later on. At password, at country, add gender. Okay, so this is the query I have created, and now what I need to do is I have to create the command. The command is SQL command. Command is equal to new SQL command, and give it two things. First of all, your query, and then your connection, my connection. So your command is ready. Inside commands, you need to give parameters. What are these parameters? These parameters coming from the registration page, which the user will be writing. So I will be writing these values over here by using this command dot parameters dot add with value, and copy and paste this over here. These lines which we have created, these, and comma and your text box names. These text box names. Remember what the name was over here? Username txt, IDs actually, email txt, and their text values actually. This is what I need to write. So username should be username txt dot text. So I'll just copy and paste this 5 times, not 6 times. Username, email, password, country, gender. So username is there, email txt, control space will help you automatically write your code. Password txt.text, and then country. So I don't have country actually, I have some other name. Let's see my this drop down list name. I can have it country name, which would have been better. Anyway, whatever is the name now, drop down list 1. I'll use this. I'll have to use this actually. Drop down list 1 dot selected values, meaning whatever the country has been selected. Similarly for the choice list, which is a gender, also is called gender select dot selected value. What is my gender select? This is the name of this component, gender select. Gender select dot selected values. Okay, so my parameters is also finished. The next thing I would like to do is to execute this query. So I will go and execute this query by writing this command dot execute non-query and save. So once this will do what? This will do the insertion into the database of this new user. That is create new user. It will create a new user. Once it creates a new user, the next thing I would want to do is to redirect to the admin page to show that the user has been created. Now normally when the user registers himself or herself online, you don't show him or her all the users, you show the manager all the users, manager or administrator. So but to make sure over here, I'm just writing this, go to next page to show all the users, which users. This is the administrators page. So how do I do this? Response dot redirect, and the page is which I created before, this one, admin dot aspx, control S, and now this should be finishing my insertion, which is my create new database task. So I'll run this. Okay, I'll create a new user. Let's see, the user is, for example, Paul at http.ac.ae. Password is Paul123. Confirm password Paul. It should be same actually. Paul123. Country UAE. gender male, and I do submit. When I do that, it should go to the next page and show me all the customer details, including the first one, the one which I just created. Okay, so I know the data has been inserted. Thank you for watching this.